So earlier this year I reviewed a game called Super Lucky's Tale, a cute little platformer about a fox going from world to world gathering clovers and attempting to stop the troublesome kitty litter from stealing the Book of Ages and taking over the world. Now I did acknowledge this game had a few flaws, but regardless of them, I did actually enjoy my time with it. I consider it one of those overlooked platformers, especially when I had to compete with games like Mario Odyssey. Also, there's a small card at the top right there, which links you back to the original review, just in case you want a bit of context. Being it's the end of the year, I thought why not look back on one of my favourite reviews of this year being Super Lucky's Tale, and I thought I'd take it a step further by reviewing the version that was recently released on the Nintendo Switch. Weirdly enough, the developers at Playful decided to port this game to the Nintendo Switch, but I wouldn't really call this game a port. Instead of just making it run on the Switch, they decided to go a step further and adjust a few things. Like the title, it says it's new. So before we go any further, I just need to clarify one thing. I was given a review copy of New Super Lucky's Tale for the Nintendo Switch, hence why my version is still sealed. And while I'm incredibly grateful for Playful giving me a copy of this game, it doesn't change my views at all because I've already reviewed the original, and if you've seen that, you'd know I already like it. So you can imagine where I'm going with this one. So the story starts off a little differently compared to the original. Instead of Lucky's sister returning home from an adventure, things take a bit of a darker turn. The kitty litter have already been battling against the Guardians for multiple years, hunting down and banishing anyone they can find, just so they can get their paws on the Book of Ages. Once they've managed to catch up with the remaining Guardians and find the Book of Ages, the Book of Ages opens up and starts sucking in all the kitty litter alongside Lucky, with his sister and the remainder of the Guardians being isolated back in Foxington. But unlike the original version, they don't have any means of contacting Lucky within the book, so he's just as isolated as they are. The first level starts you off with a golem who needs your help unlocking a gate so you can get back home. The level is basically like a tutorial level, giving you the chance to get used to controls, and if you're a returning player, it gives you the chance to notice the differences between the Switch version and the original. All the basics are still here. You can run, you can jump, dive and attack. However, unlike the original game, Lucky's movements are a bit looser and faster while still remaining rather responsive. I think this could also be linked to the new movement animations with Lucky as he runs around everywhere instead of like on all fours, but either way it does feel a lot better. Another improvement to this game is the spin attack, and that is actually useful this time round. The first swing is still a stun ability, but if you then swing again, you'll actually kill the enemy, instead of just restricting you to have to jump on every single enemy excluding the bosses. Also, whenever you kill an enemy now, all the coins that they drop are picked up just by default, so you don't have to worry about them falling off the map, which you have no idea how many times that's happened. Upon unlocking the gate, you'll encounter the first boss of the game where they'll try to belittle you for a bit before they vanish and leaving you to the rest of the level. And from here the aim is pretty simple. Go around each level completing the main objective to be rewarded with one of the missing pages from the Book of Ages. Within each level there's a total of 4 pages to collect, the first being for beating the level, the second for collecting 300 coins, the third for collecting each letter of Lucky's name, and the final page is acquired by a minigame unique to each level. Some are located in bonus rooms, some can be found around the map by doing a certain task, and then some are just scattered around the map randomly. Originally though, you were collecting clovers, however in the new version you're collecting pages. I can see why they made the change because obviously you're collecting parts of the Book of Ages, but I wonder where they got the idea from. They clearly copied Conker's Bad Fur Day. I mean, they look similar. After beating the first level, you're thrown into the hub world where you'll notice that no one's here, except the shopkeeper where you can buy new clothes for Lucky. Oh, and there's also a golem who's totally legit and not Jinx in disguise. It seems like people have fled through the remaining portals ever since the kitty litter have attacked, and the portals linking between hub worlds are no longer working, so it's up to Lucky to go through each remaining portal, find enough missing pages to then take down the boss of that area to move on to the rest of the game. The game has a total of 6 worlds to traverse through, 5 being part of the main story and the 6th being a kind of post-game world once you've beaten the leader of the kitty litter. Fun little fact, 2 of these worlds are actually DLCs in the original version, but in this version of the game they've been weaved into the storyline, so it's nice to see the developers acknowledge these and just actually put them into the story to have them make sense rather than them being on the side. From here, a lot of the game plays exactly the same as the original. You have multiple levels in each world with various bonus levels to play through, like the puzzle levels and the ball stages. However, the auto-run levels have been altered slightly to be part of the main game list rather than a bonus level, as they now feature 4 collectible pages like the main stages. And honestly, I don't mind that, it's a nice change of pace. And a lot of these levels are pretty much identical to the original. However, some of these levels do have some minor alterations. Take the first level in the game for example. In the original game, you'd start off on a small little island making your way to the headless golems in the second area. However, in the Switch version, you start off in that last tutorial area, with the second half being blocked off until you hit that bell. There's a lot of levels that make these small alterations, whether it's just a small quality of life decision or just to change how you approach the current objective. But it's safe to say, regardless of these changes, it does make the game a bit more enjoyable. And to top it off, New Super Lucky's Tale actually includes some brand new levels as well, with one of my favourites being a level from Spookington. You go to a carnival where instead of being a linear level like the rest of the game, it's more of a collection of mini games where you can earn tickets to unlock rewards. But more importantly, your aim is to get enough tickets to claim the main page for this level. There's actually a couple more levels like this with some new gimmicks introduced into the game, which provide a different change of pace without completely removing the original aim of the game being a flat out platformer. And one thing that really complements this platformer is the visuals. And can I just say, for a third party Switch title, this looks great. While yes, the game won't look as sharp as on Xbox or PC, Playful did a fantastic job with the restrictions they had in mind. The game looks good in both docked and handheld, and best of all, the performance is pretty solid. To top it off as well, you can really appreciate the effort the devs put into this game this time around, as the controls finally allow you to rotate the camera fully. Sometimes. Yeah, the option does tend to vary on certain levels. Now it's mainly down to when a level is a 2D platform or an auto-run level, but when it comes to the 3D levels you can really stop and take in the scenery. As that was my biggest problem with the game on the Xbox and PC, was the camera was stuck to just this free angle point of view, and there were so many levels that I wanted to sit there and just go, you know what, I want to take this all in. And thankfully I can do that now. God, this game is so pretty. As for the remainder of the game, it really falls down onto the bosses, as they're pretty much the same as the original game, being rather basic and simple with a 3-hit formula. But like I said in the original review, the game is aimed at a younger audience. Although I will admit, I wouldn't be against a harder challenge. But once you beat the game and go to the 6th world and play the levels for the Guardian Trolls in Lucky's homeworld Foxington, these levels are designed to challenge you. Like, even the bosses in this area are designed to be a bit trickier than the base game, which is a nice change of pace for me. If I could bring one suggestion from this part of the game though, it would just be, why isn't this introduced as a kind of new game plus mode or a harder difficulty? You know, sometimes a challenge can be nice, but that doesn't mean you can't be an adult and appreciate these kind of things. The game has an insane amount of charm to it, it's fun for someone who comes home from work after a 12-hour shift to record gameplay for a review, and it was actually quite relaxing, so for me, this was a perfect way to end my day and just switch off. Especially when you look at all the new cutscenes they've added for this game for when you introduce the bosses, because I mean, some of these are just so adorable. Especially with this big guy, because like I said before, he's adorable and he doesn't know what's going on, but I absolutely love him. Now I do have one minor nitpick with this game, and while it's not really a major thing, I thought it was still worth mentioning. Now yes, while we did get some new levels in this version, which in my opinion does make this a definitive version of the game, I don't know why they didn't go a step further and introduce a new world or a new chapter. Like, the game isn't short, it's moderately paced, but by the time I completed it I wanted more, so maybe either extending past Foxington with a little sub-story, or either just adding another chapter where you fight some of the old bosses again would have been a nice addition. They might do it as DLC though, because they aren't afraid of doing DLC, which honestly I'll be fine with if it's priced fairly and has enough to actually offer for me to go back through and play it. And that's the other thing that kind of disappointed me with this game. While you still have all the costumes to unlock, actually you have more to unlock this time, because if you get all the pages in a world, you get an outfit of the boss character. Going 100% in this game didn't feel like it was worth it for me. You do get an extra cutscene at the end, which I won't show because obviously spoilers, but I kind of wanted a bit more for it. Like throughout the game when you progress, Lucky doesn't really progress much as a character. He's the same cute little fox from the start, which while isn't a bad thing, it does kind of lessen the impact of progress. But who cares, it was a cute fox. Personally, I would say hands down the Switch version is definitely better than the original, but I wouldn't fully disregard this version anyway. There's a lot of differences between the two games, which makes this one still worth playing. However, when it comes to looking at this one, while I did really enjoy it, I kind of wish they made a sequel instead. Well, I can tell you one thing, if you have a VR headset, more specifically an Oculus, there is a prequel out there called Lucky's Tale, and I did mention this last time. But you know, being I've gone over this game twice now, I think we should have a look at the VR version someday. Possibly next year. Alongside another game which I need to finish off. But you'll have to wait and see. Until then, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Sir Crackerbulb, and I'll see you next decade. Can't believe I just made that joke.